started now. But yes, healthy living, the practice of healthy enhancing behaviors. There's also going to be some videos in this presentation, quick little videos. Okay, so our topics today are going to include mental resilience. Hopefully you have heard of mental resilience or resilience. We're going to talk a little bit about exercise, food, relationships, and sleep. All very important factors in healthy living. Okay, so this is my personal definition on mental resilience. There's a lot of studies, a lot of information out there, but basically, in my opinion, mental resilience is a purposeful attempt to restructure the way you think about negatives and learn from your mistakes. So not so much focusing on, oh, I didn't do well here, or I'm messing up there, more so focusing on just how can I do better the next time, knowing that you can overcome certain things if you're not exactly where you want to be with grades, with health, with relationships. It's just mental resilience is making it a point to not focus on those things in a negative way. So learning from it, knowing that you'll get better at it, and just pushing forward and learning from it and doing better the next time. All right, so let's watch this little clip next.
Simple things like maintaining routine. It really means some of the studies of stress, especially in anxiety. You know, getting kids out of school, getting them to our routine, get them used to their morning. Finding a substitute routine will trigger the sense of predictability in our lives. We can also work just in something. Things like, say, taking a few minutes each day to show gratitude for the things that actually went on. This is really stressful. I'm disconnected. Yes, yes, yes. But it's some things. Maybe you were working on millions of Canadians making, you know, bread actually with this. Maybe there was something that actually went a little bit right this particular day. So that exercise gratitude. The exercise is the big reaching out as well, or making a contribution. You know, even with such social isolation, still help our neighbors breathing and financial. All these things kind of meld together to create opportunities so that when things happen, we can go along through them. And the good news is, generally speaking, when people have some wicked, they're able to persevere, they have some positive thinking, they don't want themselves, misexceeding bad things to something that they have this network of resources. 70% of us slide through. We dip, we have a few bad things. But generally speaking, we recover to normal quite quickly. It's 30% of it, and we get stuck a little bit. We know that people have those resources, actually able to be in that 70% to get through this relatively.
Okay, great. Can you guys still hear me okay as well? Give me a thumbs up in the chat or feel free to, okay, good. All right, thank you. So let me go back. I don't want to start exercising it. So mental resilience, again, it's developing, it's stuff you can learn, it's practice, it's routine, it's using your resources. I am one of your resources. There is a whole is available to you. If you need help and you don't know where to get your help at, you can always email our department. We are studentsuccess@uta.edu. You can send us questions about pretty much anything, and we'll be able to either give you the answer or connect you with the right person or department that you need to speak to have the help you need or whatever you're looking for. Before I go on to our next topic, not so much in a rush, so let me know, do you have any questions or comments or tips, things you do to help with mental resilience? You are welcome to turn your mute off or camera on, whatever you prefer. If not, I'll keep moving. Nothing yet? A little early? Okay, I'll just keep moving along. Feel free to raise your hand if you do have any questions. We can pause and answer your question. Okay, so exercising. Exercising, I find personally, is extremely helpful, especially when we're talking about stress. Exercising is any bodily activity, you can see it here, that enhances or maintains physical fitness and overall health and wellness. I personally love to run. That's kind of just like my de-stressor. It's a good think things through on my own and put on a playlist and just go for a little bit. That does not always have to be the case. However, obviously we're not always in the mood to exercise. More often I'm not in the mood to exercise, but I know the end result is usually better for me. So there's a lot of information about exercising that is beneficial to you and me. Talking about developing a routine is important. If you want to make it a habit, I personally would recommend to try to say, okay, 2 days out of the week for sure, I'm going to do 30 minutes. That's generally the guideline, 30 minutes. I believe it's 3 times a week, but if you're not used to exercising or you're not in the habit of that yet, I would say, start with 2 days or 1 day even, and just say, I'm going to do something for 30 minutes, whether that's walking outside, a video. There's a ton of resources available right now for you that are virtual because of the situation we're in with COVID. I do know that the MAC is open. You have to register or sign up to go at a certain time just because they're cleaning it and they're making sure the space is available to you. But UTA has a ton of resources for you when it comes to exercise. There's a lot of scientific evidence that exercise will help you with memory retention, which is really important when you're in college, right? It's important your whole life, but especially when you're trying to remember the last 6 chapters that you are going to be tested on soon. So overall, it's just really important, I think, for you personally, mentally. It just puts you in a good mood. It kind of gets your day started right if you do exercise in the morning, or maybe you just need it in the evening, whatever works for your schedule. Obviously, everybody is a little bit different there. So you find the best time for you. And I think this is the next video. talks a little bit about the science behind why you should exercise.
It's the most transformative thing that you can do for your brain today for the following 3 reasons. Number 1, the single workout that you do will immediately increase levels of neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and noradrenaline. That is going to increase your mood right after the workout. These immediate effects, transient, they help you right after. What you have to do is change your exercise regime, increase your cardiorespiratory function to get the long-lasting effects. Exercise actually changes the brain's anatomy, physiology, and function. The hippocampus exercise actually produces brand new brain cells in the hippocampus, as well as improve your long-term memory. Number 2, the most common finding in neuroscience studies looking at the effects of exercise, long-term exercise, is improved attention function. And finally, you not only get immediate effects of mood with exercise, but you get long-lasting increases in those good mood neurotransmitters. Here you can think about the brain like a muscle. The more you're working out, the bigger and stronger your prefrontal cortex gets. The prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus are the 2 areas that are most susceptible to normal cognitive decline in aging. The rule of thumb is you want to get 3 to 4 times a week exercise, 30 minutes an exercise. You want to get aerobic exercise in. Get your heart rate up. Thank you very much.
That was just a short little video on exercise and the science behind those benefits. Oh, let me get rid of this. Sorry, guys. Okay. So the science behind that. But it's definitely a big benefit. You're young right now, you're in college, but as you get older, it'll definitely help long-term as well. So one thing I will say is, generally speaking, you don't just start exercising and feel like, oh, I'm going to do this all the time now. Sometimes you start and then you kind of drop off, you get tired, your body feels tired, you're feeling sore. Those things are natural, they happen to all of us. And so the main thing I personally recommend is start off slow and know that when you don't want to exercise and you're not in the mood to exercise, you know, give yourself a little boost and force yourself. Even if it's the worst exercise session you do, you'll definitely still feel better after you do it. And you'll be a little bit more prepared mentally as well to focus on your next task for that day, for the following day, and get some good sleep. Here's some information from, I wish this would go away, American Heart Association, but it talks about 150 minutes a week, which essentially, like I said, give or take, no one's saying everybody has to do 150 minutes a week, but that's just a general guideline. Move more, sit less. Standing desks, because all day, are great. I love the standing desk. And right now, since a lot of us are working and doing school from home, you know, the more you can get up and take a little 5-minute walk around, get some fresh air, that always is another really good way of kind of just refreshing your mind and resetting yourself, resetting your mood, all of that. Add some intensity. The heartbeat part of this, there is basically a rule of thumb. So your max heart rate when you exercise is going to be 220 minus your age. And that should be your maximum heart rate when you're exercising. So take that into account if you think you are going to start exercising. That's something you can kind of monitor. Or if you already do, check and see what is your max heart rate at. It should be 220 minus your age. And add muscle, so light weight movement or resistance bands are really good for that also. Anything that tones, and then just feeling better overall. That will naturally happen. You will feel better if you develop a routine and consistently do this practice. I used to do advising for a long time, and I always tell students, like, you go to tutoring one day, it's probably not going to help much. You need to develop a consistent way of going to tutoring, scheduling that into your day so that you get the benefits. And this is going to be pretty much the same thing. If you want the benefits from the exercise, the the mood boost, the feeling better, all of those things. It's consistency. And it does get easier as you work towards that over time. But it's definitely not something that you'll just wake up feeling like you can do this forever. Some days you will, and then some days you won't. And those days that you don't, you just push through it, do a little something. It'll feel great when you're done. Okay. What's here? So we're going to go on to foods. Any questions? Are we all good still? Or comments? I don't see anything in the chat. So feel free to throw your questions in if you have questions. Don't be shy. Okay, so food is another super, super important part of healthy living. Food is really a hard part. I love food. We all love food. A lot of us love food, I will say. So healthy eating is a diet that you want to not necessarily say, I'm not going to eat this. It's really hard to take out some of those delicious, not healthy foods. They're quick. A lot of times they're really inexpensive, and they're available everywhere. Like think about all the fast food spots all around us constantly. You just drive up and get your food there. But the nutritional value, obviously, we all know is not going to be great. Personally, I would say as much of cooking at home that you could do, the better. Just a quick raise of hands or in the chat. Do you all cook at home? I'm wondering. Or cook on your own, not fast food? I don't see anything in the chat yet. Mom cooks at home. Okay, good. So home cooked foods are definitely the best way to go. But once we're out and about, it's a little bit difficult to, have that home cooked meal with you. You need a microwave or something to heat it up usually. So it gets a little bit difficult. And my personal opinion or recommendation, I should say, my personal recommendation is take snacks with you that are healthy, that you can eat on, so that you don't get to the point where you're ever like, oh my gosh, I'm starving, I just need a burger, or I just need a slice of pizza, or whatever the case may be. If you get to that point, you're probably going to buy some chips or buy something unhealthy, basically. So carrying snacks with you, peanuts, I don't know, certain granola bars are pretty good for you usually. Fruit, obviously, vegetables. Hopefully you like some of that stuff. Give it a try at least, I would say. It definitely will curb the hunger and kind of just give you a little bit more time before you need that next big meal. When it comes to grocery shopping, a lot of you mentioned you're still at home, mom's cooking for you, which is awesome. I wish my mom was still cooking for me. But at some point, you're probably gonna have to start cooking on your own or shopping on your own. What I recommend is stick to the perimeters of the food store you go to. So the middle aisles generally have like all the sweet stuff, all the stuff that's boxed and canned with preservatives and whatnot. Some canned stuff is not necessarily bad. Not everything is bad, but just rule of thumb, if you stick to the outside perimeter, you're generally going to get like your fresh fruits on the outside, your meats, your lean meats if you eat meat, bread, grains, things like that is still good for you. It's all just, a lot of it is depending on your moderation, but it doesn't have to be expensive to eat healthy. It can be expensive if you're eating healthy without having it planned out and you're just in a rush, because now you do have to like find a place to eat. And if you're going to get a healthy meal, sometimes it's a little costly. So, yeah, so if you prep ahead of time, carry the snacks with you, lots of water, obviously, that's super important. I believe the rule of thumb is you should be having, everybody says 8 glasses of water. That's kind of like, or 8 cups of water a day. That's kind of just like a general rule. Obviously, depending on what you're doing, if you're out running, if you're exercising heavily, you're going to need more water than that. But that's kind of your rule of thumb. How many people get at least 8 cups of water a day? Put it in the chat for me, or feel free to say out loud. I generally carry something. Let me reach over. I generally this. When we're on campus, there's a lot of refilling stations. So I know if I go through at least 2 or 3 of these in the day, I've had enough water for myself for the day. I think that's helpful usually. And the water is free to get through all of the little stations on campus. When you're buying foods, the other thing you can do is make sure to look at your labels. Know that it's okay to still eat the burgers and the pizza and the fries and all that. We all like that sometimes. It's just a matter of how often are you doing it? How much are you getting, like a super large size? You don't really need a large size. So taking into account all of those things, your portion size is super important as well. And then also think about when you're eating. Are you really hungry? You know, sometimes we get bored and we just automatically decide to snack on stuff. And so that right there is something, if you can start at least recognizing it, like, I'm not really hungry, I'm just eating because I'm bored, then you can find something to do, occupy yourself a little bit, push it off a little bit. All of those things will slowly add up and you'll get more into a routine of eating when you're actually hungry, or needing some food. And adding color to your meals. That's another important tip I can give you. The more color it has, generally the more vitamins, nutrients, more flavor. It just looks better. If the food doesn't look good, presentation wise, you're probably not going to be interested in eating it much. So the more color is generally a good rule of thumb that it's going to be better for you overall. And any questions here? Going through some notes. I'm trying to make sure I'm giving you all my tips that I can remember. If not, yeah. Someone mentioned in the chat, it's hard to get the water in, we forget. Definitely, I recommend getting some type of sports bottle and just kind of keeping a mental note, like, okay, I filled this up once, filled this up twice. That's at least going to get you closer to it, and just carry it with you wherever you're at in your room, if you're at home still or wherever you might be going. But it saves the environment as well, less plastic. All right, so let's hear another snippet here.
If you sucked all the moisture out of your brain and broke it down to its constituent nutritional content, what would it look like? Most of the weight of your dehydrated brain would come from fats, also known as lipids. In the remaining brain matter, you would find proteins and amino acids, traces of micronutrients, and glucose. The brain is, of course, more than just the sum of its nutritional parts, but each component does have a distinct impact on functioning, development, mood, and energy. So that post-lunch or late-night alertness you might be feeling, well, that could simply be the effects of food on your brain. Of the fats in your brain, the superstars are omegas 3 and 6. These essential fatty acids, which have been linked to preventing degenerative brain conditions, must come from our diets. So eating omega-rich foods like nuts, seeds, and fatty fish is crucial to the creation and maintenance of cell membranes. And while omegas are good fats for the brain, long-term consumption of other fats, like trans and saturated fats, may compromise brain health. Meanwhile, proteins and amino acids, the building block nutrients of growth and development, manipulate how we feel and behave. Amino acids contain the precursors, the neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that carry signals between neurons, affecting things like mood, sleep, attentiveness, and weight. They're one of the reasons we might feel calm after eating a large plate of pasta, or more alert after a protein-rich meal. The complex combinations of compounds in food can stimulate brain cells to release mood-altering norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin. But getting to your brain cells is tricky, and amino acids have to compete for limited access. A diet with a range of foods helps maintain a balanced combination of brain messengers, and keeps your mood from getting skewed in one direction or the other. Like the other organs in our bodies, our brains also benefit from a steady supply of micronutrients. Antioxidants in fruits and vegetables strengthen the brain to fight off free radicals that destroy brain cells, enabling your brain to work well for a longer period of time. And without powerful micronutrients like the vitamins B6, B12, and folic acid, our brains would be susceptible to brain disease and mental decline. Trace amounts of the minerals iron, copper, zinc, and sodium are also fundamental to brain health and early cognitive development. In order for the brain to efficiently transform and synthesize these valuable nutrients, it needs fuel and lots of it. While the human brain only makes up about 2% of our body weight, it uses up to 20% of our energy resources. Most of this energy comes from carbohydrates that our body digests into glucose or blood sugar. The frontal lobes are so sensitive to drops in glucose, in fact, that a change in mental function is one of the primary signals of nutrient deficiency. Assuming that we are getting glucose regularly, how does the specific type of carbohydrates we eat affect our brains? Carbs come in three forms: starch, sugar, and fiber. While on most nutrition labels, they are all lumped into one total carb count, the ratio of the sugar and fiber subgroups to the whole amount affect how the body and brain respond. A high glycemic food, like white bread, causes a rapid release of glucose into the blood, and then comes the dip. Blood sugar shoots down, and with it, our attention span and mood. On the other hand, oats, grains, and legumes have slower glucose release, enabling a steadier level of attentiveness. For sustained brain power, opting for a varied diet of nutrient-rich foods is critical. When it comes to what you bite, chew, and swallow, your choices have a direct and long-lasting effect on the most powerful organ in your body.
Okay, so that was a little for you. Like I said, I'm presenting you these tips and this information, but I'm showing you the videos just so you get a little bit of the science behind why this is important, and how it contributes to overall your function and your success. Okay, so a picture of what this looks like, basically, eat a lot of veggies and fruit, and then everything else is a lot more minimal. So your carbs, your dairies, obviously the junk food and all of that, sugar, salt, donuts, bagels, they're delicious, but we can't eat them as often as we'd like sometimes, just to keep on a healthy diet and just to keep us performing optimally as well. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about relationships next. Do we have any questions on the diet, the healthy diet questions or comments on that? I think no one has posted anything in the chat, so I'm going to keep moving. Feel free to add the questions in. I can come back to them. Healthy relationships. So this is super important. COVID is obviously put a strain on some of that sometimes because we don't get to see our friends as often, our family as often as we'd like to right now. And all of that, you know, makes it a little bit harder to have quote unquote healthy relationships because we just don't have that close connection right now in person. But obviously things like Teams, Zoom, you can still use them to see family and friends that you can't actually go see in person. I think that has helped out a lot. I have a lot of family that's out of state. And so now that there's so many options available with Zoom and Teams and everybody is using it, we've been able to actually develop a new way of communicating with each other. So having those relationships, people you can still talk to and see visually is super important. Hopefully you all still get to see some of your friends or family in close contact with you in a safe way. Obviously, we're all wearing face masks and things like that, but this particular chart I'm showing you right now is also about not just seeing people and having people around you right now, because that's a challenge as it is, but also the type of relationship you have with those people. So being in a healthy relationship means you're listening to each other. You can communicate with each other without judgment, which is very difficult. Doesn't mean you're not in a healthy relationship. If there is some judgment there, it just means that obviously it can use some work, and that's most of our relationships. We can all improve in some areas, but it's super important. So trusting and respecting one another, making time for each other, engaging in healthy activities together. If some of you are in a dorm, I'm not sure, but that is something to consider even within your like roommates or your dorm mates, or in your home as well. Being able to communicate, personally, I would recommend when you're talking with people and there's a conflict or some type of issue that comes up, you know, if you're really angry in that moment, a lot of times things get said that you don't really mean. It's in the moment, your anger. Take a few minutes, go for that little walk and kind of understand what you're feeling, organize your thoughts, maybe even jot them down, and then talking about it with that person is important, but doing it in a civil way, in a calm way to address the concerns, because yelling or, you know, that type of environment won't help either person. It won't help you, it won't help them. And also take into consideration, are you being that person for somebody else? You know, is somebody else able to come to you where you can just listen to them and not be judgmental and just kind of hear them out? Sometimes that's all that somebody is needing, just someone to kind of speak on and not be judged and not be told what to do next. Sometimes you just want to be heard. So that's super important. Now, I have a slide here for our CAPS department. Are you all familiar with CAPS? Give me a thumbs up or a yes or a no. CAPS is our counseling office on campus. They are amazing. They're super awesome. There's a ton of resources. Good, I'm getting a lot of yeses. So there's a ton of resources. You can make an appointment to go see them in person if you want to see someone in person. But sometimes maybe you feel like, I just need a mood boost. I'm just not feeling great right now. I just need to, you know, like boost myself up. I don't really want to go talk to someone in person. There is so many resources. This is a slide of their homepage on the website. If you just go to UTA's website and look up CAPS, CAPS, or you could go to uta.edu/CAPS. All of these links are obviously clickable there, but there is a lot of pre-recordings. Sometimes it's just stuff like mental notes, just a mood boost. There is also a talk line, a 24-hour talk line, suicide prevention hotline. You know, some of us sometimes go through some really heavy stuff. We don't know what each other are going through, especially because of COVID and we're not out so much. If you're needing help and you do need someone to talk to, it's super important that you reach out. All you have to do is call that number. There is always someone available. You could do a chat as well. So know that you are, yes, we're all isolated. We're all kind of in our own little bubbles right now, but you're definitely not alone. As a campus, as a whole campus, you have resources available to you if you need help or if you just need to talk to someone to kind of de-stress. You're in a stressful situation or you're looking for some advice. This is a great resource for you. I highly recommend to use them. Your sessions, your first, I think 6 sessions are free. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember exactly, but I know that you do get some free sessions with them as well. So definitely use them. Don't be afraid to reach out to them. They're super helpful. Any questions here before I move forward? I think we're okay. I'm trying to make sure I get to all my points before this quick little 45 minutes is up. Healthy living is a lot of things. It's not just one thing. So I'm trying to give you a couple of points today that will hopefully help out. Okay, let's talk about caffeine. So I, in college, drank a ton of caffeine to kind of keep up, especially in the afternoons. I would be super tired. And after eating lunch, I'd drink, you know, like a Red Bull or one of these like energy drinks or coffee or something. So in the chat, feel free to type in, do you do caffeine? Give me a yes or a no. As I say, I'm drinking some green tea. Give me a little boost today. Good. Okay. Well, it looks like you guys are drinking some caffeine, but not a whole lot, which is great. Caffeine is definitely useful sometimes. You know, you need a quick boost. Like I said, I'm drinking some green tea. Sometimes I'll drink green tea in the morning. But it definitely has a decline also. And so that kind of gets you into this cycle of needing the caffeine because you're going to take a dip, kind of like the food video we just heard that talked about depending on what you're eating. So caffeine is helpful, but at the same time, after drinking a lot of caffeine, it's going to interrupt your sleep patterns. It's going to affect you in multiple ways. So I personally recommend definitely keep it to a limited amount, if at all possible, and work on your schedule to make sure you're getting enough sleep. That is super important. I know as a society in general, we don't usually get a whole lot of sleep. I know a lot of people that try to go on 4 to 6 hours of sleep a night, and that over time is not going to work. Drop in the chat for me. How many hours of sleep do you usually get? Usually. So all of us have one night where we just slept bad. We only got 3 hours, 4 hours. But in general, we usually hopefully are getting more than that. I try to sleep somewhere between 8 to 9 hours. Sometimes the 9 hours, I just can't do it, but 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours for me for sure is a good space for me. Yeah, some of you are saying 4 to 5 hours. So that is super, super important to kind of take note of. It, you know, maybe you can function for a little while, but I don't think over a long period of time that will be beneficial to you. So, you know, as much as you can, look to see where can you sneak in some sleep? Where can you get a full set hour of additional sleep if you're only getting 4 overnight? Because that's definitely probably not going to be enough sleep for you. It actually is recommended if you're 18 and over, 7 to 9 hours. And if you're under 18, it's even more. So definitely something you want to kind of take note of. Let me go ahead and show you this video. Hopefully we have enough time here for the rest of it.
In 1965, 17-year-old high school student Randy Young stayed awake for 264 hours, that's 11 days, to see how he coped without sleep. On the second day, his eyes stopped focusing. Next, he lost the ability to identify objects by touch. By day 3, Young was weak and uncoordinated. At the end of the experiment, he was struggling to concentrate, had trouble with short-term, became paranoid, and started hallucinating. Although Gardner recovered without long-term psychological advantage, for others, losing shut-eye can result in hormonal imbalance, illness, and in extreme cases, death. We're only beginning to understand why we sleep to begin with, but we do know it's essential. Adults need 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, and adolescents need about 10. We grow sleepy due to signals from our body telling our brain we are tired, and signals from the environment telling us it's dark outside. The rise in sleep-inducing chemicals like adenosine and melatonin send us into a light doze that grows deeper, making our breathing and heart rate slow down and our muscles relax. This non-REM sleep is when DNA is repaired and our bodies replenish themselves for the day ahead. In the United States, it's estimated that 30% of adults and 66% of adolescents are regularly sleep deprived. This isn't just a minor inconvenience. Staying awake can cause serious bodily harm. When we lose sleep, learning, memory, mood, and reaction time are affected. Sleeplessness may also cause inflammation, hallucinations, high blood pressure, and it's even been linked to diabetes and obesity. In 2014, I devoted after staying awake for 48 hours to watch the World Cup. While his untimely death was due to a stroke, studies show that chronically sleeping fewer than 6 hours a night increases stroke risk by 4.5 times compared to those getting a consistent 7 to 8 hours. For a handful of people on the planet who carry a rare inherited genetic mutation, sleeplessness is a daily reality. This condition, known as fatal familial insomnia, places the body in an impaired state of wakefulness,
forbidding it from entering the sanctuary of sleep. Within months or years, this progressive sleep condition leads to dementia and death. How can sleep deprivation cause such immense? Scientists think cancer lies with the accumulation of waste products in the brain. During our waking hours, our cells are busy using up our day's energy sources, which get broken down into various elements, including adenosine. As adenosine builds up, it increases the urge to sleep, also known as sleep pressure. In fact, caffeine works by blocking adenosine's receptor pathways. Other waste products also build up in the brain, and if they're not cleared away, they collectively overload the brain and are thought to lead to the many negative symptoms of sleep deprivation. So what's happening in our brain when we sleep? To prevent this, scientists found something called the glymphatic system, a cleanup mechanism that removes this buildup and is much more active when we're asleep. It works by using cerebrospinal fluid to flush away toxic byproducts that accumulate between cells. Lymphatic vessels, which serve as pathways for immune cells, have recently been discovered in the brain, and they may also play a role in clearing out the brain's daily waste products. While scientists continue exploring the restorative mechanisms behind sleep, we can be sure that slipping into slumber is a necessity if we want to maintain our health and our sanity.
All right, so that was kind of creepy, but to the point that 4 hours of sleep is okay once in a while, but definitely work on the schedule, work on what you need to do to try to get a little bit more sleep on a regular basis at least, or on the weekends, catch up on some sleep for yourself. Pretty much those are most of the topics. I know we're getting close to the end. All of these factors influence your success, obviously, in school. And so we want to make sure that overall you're getting your resources for your studying, you're getting your resources for your classes, but your health is also a factor in being successful in college. And we know that here as employees at UTA. So we want to make sure that you have those resources as well. I am wearing a Rec Campus t-shirt today. I wanted to show you that UTA's definitely has options available for you if you're looking for a way to do some exercise, but you don't really want to go outside and run, or that's not really your thing, or being outside is not your thing. You can do a lot of virtual exercises. You just go to the UTA Campus Recreation website and click on the day, participate here. It's a live session, or you can do on-demand classes so that they're not live. They're just classes that are pre-recorded. And so that's available to you. This t-shirt I'm wearing because I participate in this fall National Recreation Movement through UTA. And basically it's UTA ranked against many, many campuses. And I'll show you the leaderboard. Right now, I think UTA is currently on number 12. But if you log in and participate, and basically you're just timing your minutes, you tell, you log in like what you did cardio for 30 minutes, you did whatever, yoga, different things are on there to pick from. But you can go ahead and contribute to UTA's ranking here because we're at number 12. So if we can boost that up, and after I believe it's 300 minutes, you get a free t-shirt, and we all like free t-shirts. So that is available to you for the rest of this fall semester. And so I'm going to close out this video. There is a student feedback survey. I'm going to bring this up at the very end, but since we're running out of time, I wanted to show you one last quick video. This is like 2 minutes long, but it talks about stress and dealing with stress and how to overcome and not feel worried or scared by stressful feelings that you might have, especially as we get closer to finals and whatnot. Using stress to be a motivator for yourself.
I've changed my mind about stress. This study tracked 30,000 adults in the United States for 8 years. And they started by asking people, how much stress have you experienced in the last year? They also asked, do you believe that stress is harmful for your health? And then they used public death records to find out who died. People who experienced a lot of stress in the previous year had a 43% increased risk of dying. But that was only true for the people who also believed that stress is harmful for your health. People who experienced a lot of stress but did not view stress as harmful were no more likely to die. In fact, they had the lowest risk of dying of anyone in the study, including people who had relatively little stress. Can changing how you think about stress make you healthier? And here the science says yes. When you change your mind about stress, you can change your body's response to stress. It's called the social stress test. Now, if you were actually in this study, you'd probably be a little stressed out. Your heart might be pounding, you might be breathing faster, maybe breaking out into a sweat. And normally we interpret these physical changes as anxiety or signs that we aren't coping very well with the pressure. What if you viewed them instead as signs that your body was energized, preparing you to meet this challenge? Now, that is exactly what participants were told in a study conducted at Harvard University. Before they went through the social stress test, they were taught to rethink their stress response as helpful. That pounding heart is preparing you for action. If you're breathing faster, it's no problem. It's getting more oxygen to your brain. And participants who learned to view the stress response as helpful for their performance. So they were less stressed out, less anxious, more confident. The most fascinating finding to me was how their physical stress response changed. Now, in a typical stress response, your heart rate goes up and your blood vessels constrict. And this is one of the reasons that chronic stress is sometimes associated with cardiovascular disease. It's not really healthy to be in this state all the time. But in the study, when participants viewed their stress response as helpful, their blood vessels stayed relaxed. Their heart was still pounding, but this is a much healthier cardiovascular profile. It actually looks a lot like what happens in moments of joy and courage. Over a lifetime of stressful experiences, this one biological change could be the difference between a stress-induced heart attack at age 50 and living well into your 90s. How you think about stress matters. Hopefully, the next time your heart is pounding from stress, you're going to remember this talk and you're going to think to yourself, this is my body helping me rise to this challenge. And when you view stress in that way, your body believes you and your stress response becomes healthier. Stress makes you social. Oxytocin is a neurohormone. It fine-tunes your brain's social instincts. It primes you to do things that strengthen close relationships, makes you crave physical contact with your friends and family. It enhances your empathy. It even makes you more willing to help and support people you care about. But here's what most people don't understand about oxytocin. It's a stress hormone. And when oxytocin is released in the stress response, it is motivating you to seek support. When life is difficult, your stress response wants you to be surrounded by people who care about you. Oxytocin also acts on your body, and one of its main roles in your body is to protect your cardiovascular system from the effects of stress. It's a natural anti-inflammatory. It also helps your blood vessels stay relaxed during stress. And oxytocin helps heart cells regenerate and heal from any stress-induced damage. This stress hormone strengthens your heart. All of these physical benefits of oxytocin are enhanced by social contact and social support. So when you reach out to others under stress, either to seek support or to help someone else, you release more of this hormone, your stress response becomes healthier, and you actually recover faster from stress. This study tracked about 1,000 adults in the United States. And they started the study by asking how much stress you experienced in the last year. They also asked, how much time have you spent helping out friends, neighbors, people in your community? For every major stressful life experience, like financial difficulties or a family crisis, that increased the risk of dying by 30%. But people who spent time caring for others showed absolutely no stress-related increase in dying, zero. How you think and how you act can transform your experience of stress. When you choose to view your stress response as helpful, you create the biology of courage. And when you choose to connect with others under stress, you can create resilience. You're saying that you can trust yourself to handle life's challenges. And you're remembering that you don't have to face them alone. One thing we know for certain is that chasing meaning is better for your health than trying to avoid discomfort. And so I would say that's really the best way to make decisions, is go after what it is that creates meaning in your life and then trust yourself to handle the stress that follows.
All right. that gets us to the end of this presentation. There is a survey here, so you could use a QR code, or that's a really long link. The QR code is probably your better bet. But we'd really appreciate it if you can use the feedback survey, just so we can know, is this helpful for you? Do you want more of these topics or other topics that you might have in mind that would be helpful for you? I really appreciate you joining me this morning on these topics, and hopefully something in this presentation was helpful for you, new for you, something that you can take with you and move forward with this. But definitely know that you are not alone. You have a huge array of resources in all areas at UTA. And like I said, if you don't know who to reach out to, you have a problem, feel free to send an email to studentsuccess@uta.edu. Myself or any other of my colleagues on our team will be happy to answer those questions and get you in contact with the right helpful people that you might need. That is all I have today. Do any of you have any questions or anything, any comments? You can unmute or you can put it in the chat if you don't feel like talking out loud. We're all set, okay. All right, well, then you are free to log off. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope it was helpful for you. Have a great day.